Buckle up because this is no ordinary story. It's a collision of worlds Hollywood grit meeting daytime TV chaos, a showdown that left jaws on the floor and the internet in flames. Imagine Harrison Ford, the no-nonsense legend who stared down empires, aliens, and Nazis on the big screen, walking onto the set of View, a place notorious for fiery debates and unfiltered opinions. Now picture him locking eyes with Joy Behar the Quick, witted, polarizing host known for pushing buttons and never backing down. What happened next wasn't just a TV moment. It was a cultural earthquake, a tense, electrifying clash that had everyone talking. Before we dive into this wild ride, hit that subscribe button and drop a like. Because trust me, you're going to stick around for every jaw-dropping second. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Because by the end of this, you'll have plenty to say. This is the story of when Harrison Ford brought his signature steel to the View and turned a routine interview into a battle for the ages. It was supposed to be a simple promotional stop. Harrison Ford, the 82-year-old icon behind Indiana Jones' Han Solo, and Rick Deckard was there to talk about his latest film, Legacy of the Sky, a quieter, introspective drama about resilience and aging gracefully far from the whip-cracking, spaceship-flying blockbusters that made him a household name. This project was personal, reflective, a nod to his own journey through 5 decades. In Hollywood, the studio audience buzzed with excitement, phones at the ready, eager to catch a glimpse of that rugged charm and gravelly voice that defined generations. Fans whispered to each other, clutching their tickets, waiting for the man who had dodged boulders and outsmarted stormtroopers to step into the spotlight. But as soon as the cameras rolled, the air shifted. Something felt off, like the calm before a storm. The hosts of The View, Whoopi Goldberg, Joy Behar, Sunny Hostin, and Sarah Haynes, sat in their familiar semicircles, smiling for the cameras. As the audience applause faded, Joy Behar, with her trademark smirk, leaned forward, her eyes glinting with mischief. Harrison. She began, her tone playful, but sharp. You've been doing this for, what, 5 decades now? Everything about slowing down. I mean, you're not exactly running from boulders anymore. The audience chuckled, but it wasn't a warm laugh. It was uneasy, hesitant. Like they sensed a spark about to ignite. Whoopi, sitting to Joy's left, shot her a quick glance, her eyebrows raised, just enough to signal she knew trouble was brewing. Harrison's eyes flicked up from the table, sharp, but controlled, that iconic half-smile tugging at his lips, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Well, Joy," he said, his voice low, that signature growl, still as potent as ever. "I don't think of it as slowing down. I think of it as doing what I love." His words were measured, deliberate, but there was an edge beneath them, a warning. The audience shifted in their seats, sensing the tension. Joy, undeterred, chuckled and pressed further, sure. "But come on, Harrison. There's got to be a point where it looks a little forced, like maybe Indiana Jones should have retired to." Florida, by now, a few gasps rippled through the crowd. A nervous laugh or two broke the silence. Someone in the back whispered, "Oh, no, she didn't." Harrison's posture shifted. He crossed his arms, his silence stretching just long enough to make the room feel smaller than with quiet intensity. He said, "You know, Joy, maybe it's not about looking young. Maybe it's about having something left to say." That line landed like a punch. The audience froze. Even the cameraman seemed to hesitate, the lens lingering on Harrison's unyielding stare. The studio felt charged, electric, like the air before a thunderstorm. Joy's smile faltered for a split second, but she recovered, leaning back with a forced laugh. "Oh, I'm not saying you don't have something to say, Harrison. I'm just saying maybe it's time to let the next generation take the spotlight." He leaned forward, now his expression flat, unreadable. "They can have it when they've earned it." The audience erupted, half clapping, half gasping, a few even cheering. Whoopi's eyebrows shot up her lips, forming a silent woe. Joy's laugh was thinner, now strained. "You sound a little touchy today," she teased, trying to regain control. Harrison didn't blink. "Him not touchy," he said, his voice steady, cutting. "I just don't confuse respect with humor." The studio, when still you could almost hear the hum of the overhead lights. Joy's grin held, but it was tight. Her eyes, narrowing. The man who had faced down galactic empires and ancient cults was now staring straight into her unapologetic smirk. Whoopi jumped in, her voice light but urgent. All right, let's keep the lightsabers off the table, folks," she joked, but the tension didn't break. Joy glanced down at her notes, flipping them with a little too much force. "Okay," she said, her tone tighter. "Now, let's talk about Fly. You've had a few accidents, haven't you?" The question hit like a low blow. The crowd gasped again, louder this time. Harrison's gaze darkened. He nodded slowly, deliberately. "I've crashed a few planes," he said, walked away from everyone. Joy's eyes sparkled with that mischievous glint, but there was something reckless in it. "Now you must have some kind of luck, or 9 lives." Harrison's voice dropped, quieter but razor sharp. "It's not luck, Joy, it's focus, something you could use right now." The audience exploded, gasps, laughter, applause, even a whistle from the back. Joy blinked, caught off guard, her laugh, awkward and forced. Wow, okay, someone's feeling spicy today, Harrison. Didn't move, didn't smile, you wanted me here, Joy. He said, you got me. The room was alive, now half thrilled, half terrified. Producers behind the cameras were waving, frantically signaling for a commercial break. But no one dared cut away. Harrison Ford wasn't just an actor doing press anymore. He was a force of storm, and Joy Behar had walked right into it. As the tension hung thick in the air, Joy tried to regain her footing. Her smile was still there, but was strained, her voice just a fraction tighter. Okay, Harrison, she said, forcing a chuckle. No need to get all intense on me. We're just having a conversation. He tilted his head slightly, his eyes never leaving hers. That's what I thought, too, he said, until it turned into a punchline. The audience murmured, the sound swelling into a mix of gasps and nervous laughter. The tension wasn't just uncomfortable now. It was magnetic, pulling everyone, and people leaned forward, hanging on every word, every glance. Whoopi, every mediator, tried to steer things back. Joy's just teasing Harrison. She set her tone light, but her eyes wary. You're one of the toughest guys around. If anyone can take it, it's you. Harrison gave a small chuckle, shaking his head. I've been told that before. He said, doesn't mean I have to smile while someone takes a swing. Joy leaned back, crossing her arms, her tone hardening. All right, if you're going to be sensitive about it. He cut her off, his voice calm but firm. It's not about being sensitive. It's about respect. That word respect hung in the air like a warning shot. Sunny Hostin, sensing the spiral, jumped in. Let's talk about your new film. She said quickly, it's about resilience, finding strength in your later years, right? But Harrison didn't take the bait. His gaze stayed on Joy. It's about not letting people tell you when you're done. He said, about deciding for yourself what you are still capable of. The audience erupted in applause, not just for the movie, but for the moment, for the man sitting there refusing to let anyone write his ending. Joy forced a smile. That's inspiring. She set her tone flat. Really? Harrison's jaw tightened, but he leaned back as if letting her have the moment for a brief second. It seemed like the storm might pass. Whoopi nodded toward the camera, signaling a shift, but then Joy pushed again. So can we be honest, Harrison? She said, tilting her head. When people see you running around in another Indiana Jones movie at your age, they kind of wonder, why not leave the past behind? Why not let someone new carry the torch? The audience inhaled. Collectively, Harrison's face didn't change, but his eyes sharpened slowly, deliberately. He leaned forward. You ever tell yourself to stop doing what you love because other people think you've had your turn? Joy blinked. This isn't about me. Feels like it is, he said. Quietly, the studio fell silent. The tension so thick you could feel it through the screen. Whoopi muttered, oh Lord, under her breath, trying to lighten the mood, but Harrison wasn't done. I've been in this business 50 years, he said, his voice low, steady. I've been told I was too old, too serious, too stubborn. But the truth is, the only reason I'm still here is because I don't let people like you decide. When finished, the audience gasped. A few clapped nervously. Others sat frozen. Joy gave a tight laugh, trying to deflect. People like me, what's that supposed to mean? He stared straight at her. People who make careers out of tearing others down and calling it conversation. The room exploded, clapping, shouting, cheering. Whoopi put a hand over her face, shaking her head. Joy, visibly rattled, tried to keep her composure. Well, I didn't know I was talking Indiana Jones and his publicist. She shot back. Harrison smiled coldly. No, you're talking to someone who's tired of pretending disrespect. It is entertainment. The crowd went wild for the first time. Joy didn't have a quick comeback. The audience stood clapping as the energy in the room reached a fever pitch. Sunny Hostin tried to intervene. Okay, maybe we can take a second and talk about the film's message instead of... But Joy wasn't letting it go. Harrison, she said sharply, I've been doing this show for 25 years. I've spoken my mind every single day, and you don't scare me. Harrison's eyebrows lifted slightly. Good, he said softly, then maybe we understand each other. A strange hush fell over the set. Whoopi leaned back, muttering, I need popcorn, prompting a nervous laugh in the audience. Joy forced a chuckle. Well, maybe next time we'll get a Harrison Ford who's not in combat mode. He looked at her for a long moment, then said with a half smile that was half amusement, half warning, maybe next time you'll get a Joy Behar who actually listens. The audience erupted again, shouts, applause, laughter. Joy tried to maintain her grin, but her eyes betrayed her. She was fuming. The director cut to a wide shot, signaling into the segment, but Whoopi leaned in, whispering, let's go to commercial before someone gets sued. Sarah Haynes muttered, yeah, before Indiana Jones brings out the whip. The music cue started. The cameras panned away, but the audience could still see Joy and Harrison locked in a silent stare, the kind that said this wasn't over. As the show cut to commercial, the crowd's chatter rose like static. People whispered, did that just happen? Was that real? Because no one had Ever seen Joy Behar rattle like that before, and no one had seen Harrison Ford lose his cool on live TV. The lights dimmed, but backstage the tension was far from over. Producers whispered urgently trying to figure out how to smooth things out. When the cameras came back on, Joy wasn't calming down. And neither was Harrison. What was supposed to be a 10-minute interview was about to become something unforgettable. When the view returned from commercial, the studio felt different, heavier, charged like the air. Before a lightning strike, the cameras panned across the host's smiling faces. But their eyes darted nervously between Joy and Harrison. The polite chatter felt force-fragile, like a dam holding back a flood. Joy's tone was overly cheerful as she tried to reset the mood. Welcome back, everyone. We're here with the legendary Harrison Ford, star of Legacy of the Sky. Her smile was tight, her jaw clenched. Harrison sat, their stoic hands clasped, eyes fixed on the table. Whoopi looked between them like a referee and over her head. Okay, let's keep it cool, she muttered half to herself. Joy glanced at Whoopi, then back to Harrison. Oh, we're fine, she said too. Quickly, we're just having a conversation. Harrison looked up, his voice calm, but pointed. That's one word for the audience. Laughed louder, now realizing he wasn't joking. Joy shifted, leaning forward. All right, let's try this. Again, your new movie's about legacy resilience. Aging, you said you don't think much about your legacy, right? So what do you want people to remember when you're finally done? The phrasing, when you're finally done, hit like a jab. The audience gasped softly. Harrison stared at her, unmoving. For a moment, it seemed like he wouldn't answer. Then he leaned, in his voice low, dangerous. When I'm done, he said, it'll be the one to decide it. Not you, not anyone sitting here. Joy blinked, caught off guard. I wasn't. He didn't. Let her finish. You keep talking about endings, Joy. He said, but you don't seem to understand what it means to build something that lasts. The words hit hard. Whoopi raised her hands, half laughing, half pleading. Okay, let's all take a deep breath. But Harrison kept going, his tone measured, but unyielding. I've been doing this for 5 decades. I've worked through pain, lost, doubt, fear. I've earned the right to still be here. So when someone sits across from me and tells me to slow down, it sounds like they don't get a. Joy smile vanished. You're twisting what? I said, him clarifying what I heard. He shot back. The crowd erupted again. Whispers, gasps, applause. Sarah Haynes looked like she wanted to crawl under the table. Sonny tried to redirect. Let's not make this personal, she said softly. But Joy had had enough. You know what, Harrison? She snapped, her tone sharp as glass. I've been asking questions, making people uncomfortable for longer than you've been making movies. If you can't handle it, maybe you're the one who's lost your edge. The audience let out a stun. The panel froze. Harrison stared at her, expressionless, then laughed a low, sarcastic laugh that made the room feel small. Lost my edge. He repeated, you think I'm here because I've lost something. Joy folded her arms, meeting his stare. I think you're here because you're trying to prove something. He leaned forward, his voice dropping into that iconic growl. You're damn right. I am improving. You can still have fire that you don't need to tear people down to feel relevant. The audience exploded. Whistles, shouts, hands slamming on tables. Joy flushed, laughing bitterly. Wow, you really came here ready to fight, huh? He didn't look away, no. He said, but I don't walk away either. Whoopi tried to pivot. Okay, let's talk about Star Wars, she said, waving her hands. Tell us something fun about Han Solo. Lighting up. But Joy wasn't done. No, let him finish. She said coldly, I want to hear what else he thinks about me. The room went silent. Harrison sighed, shaking his head. I don't think about you, Joy, he said. I think about the way people like you talk to others, like you're above it all, like you're untouchable. But maybe it's time someone told you to your face. Sometimes your jokes aren't clever, they're cruel. The audience gasped, then cheered, standing up to sound thunderous. Whoopi looked at the camera, muttering, we're going viral. For this one. Joy, fuming, looked down at her notes, her hands trembling. All right, she said, forcing a laugh. We're out of time, right? The producer signaled there was still a minute left. Harrison turned to the audience, his tone softening. I've always believed something. He said, you can be honest without being cruel. You can challenge someone without humiliating them. Maybe that's what's missing these days. The applause was sincere. Emotional. Joy smiled tightly. Well, Harrison, maybe next time you'll teach me how to do that. He smirked. Maybe next time you'll listen. The segment ended. The music, swelling the lights, brightened. The audience clapped, not out of politeness, but because they'd witnessed a live TV explosion. As the cameras cut away, Joy muttered something inaudible, and Harrison stood, gave a polite nod, and walked off stage before the credits rolled. He didn't look back. Joy sat in silence for once, without a comeback. The clip hit the internet within minutes, trending worldwide. By evening, Harrison Ford shuts down Joy Behar became the headline. The hashtag, the meme, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, everywhere the moment was dissected. Remix, celebrated comments poured in. Joy finally met her match. Harrison Ford just said what we've all been thinking, that was brutal. And I'm here for it. Entertainment outlets churn out headlines. Ford walks off the View after clash. Behar faces backlash for disrespect. The moment wasn't just a Story, it was a phenomenon. Backstage chaos reigned. Producer scramble phones buzzing with calls from agents and networks. Joy still fuming pacer dressing room. He came here with an attitude. She snapped to a staffer. He wanted that moment. Whoopi nearby side. Joy, you poked the bear. And he bit back. That's what happens. Joy glared. He's a guest, Whoopi. Not a saying you'd think he could take a joke. Whoopi shook her head. You'd think you could tell one without starting a fire. Meanwhile, Harrison sat in. His dressing room calm again. His assistant scrolled through her phone wide-eyed. You're trending in 12 countries. She said. He grunted amused for telling it like it as she replied. He shrugged, but there was a glint in his eye like he knew had just made history. The fallout continued for days. Clips were remixed with dramatic music, slow motion zooms on Harrison's icy stare. Fans debated, was Joy too harsh? Was Harrison too sensitive? Most agreed had spoken the truth long overdue. The View issued a statement, calling it a lively discussion, but the internet wasn't buying it. The moment had transcended TV, becoming a symbol of standing up to disrespect, of refusing to let age or critics define you. Harrison Ford didn't comment publicly after the show, but at a later press event, when asked about the clash, he gave that half smile and said, I said what I said. Joy, meanwhile, doubled down on The View the next day, joking, well, I guess Indiana Jones still has a temper, but her laugh was hollow, and the audience's response was tepid. For first time, Joy Behar seemed shaken, her usual bravado dimmed. The story of Harrison Ford versus Joy Behar wasn't just about a TV spat. It was about a man who had spent decades proving himself, refusing to let anyone, especially not a daytime talk show host, tell him his time was up. It was about respect, resilience, and the fire that still burns in a legend who's seen it all. And for those watching, it was a reminder, when you push a man like Harrison Ford, don't be surprised when he pushes back hard. So what do you think? Was Harrison Ford justified, or did he overreact? Did Joy Behar cross a line? Or was she just doing her job? Drop your thoughts in the comments, because this moment is still sparking debate. Subscribe for more stories like this, because when icons clash, you don't want to miss a single second.